It was a quiet night in the city, the kind of night when even the faintest sound seemed louder than it actually was. Streetlights flickered softly, casting long and uneven shadows across the sidewalks. In the midst of this stillness, a young man named Ethan walked briskly, his steps echoing slightly in the empty streets. The city felt strangely deserted, as though it were holding its breath. His mind was racing, replaying the cryptic words his friend had told him earlier. If you truly want to know the truth, go to the library after midnight. He could still remember the way his friend's eyes had gleamed with intensity, as if trying to convey the urgency and importance of the message without fully explaining why. That simple instruction had carried a weight that he could not ignore, and now, as he approached the library, the gravity of that advice pressed heavily on his chest. The library itself stood at the edge of the city, its old brick facade faintly illuminated by a single lamp outside. The building seemed almost alive in the dim light, its presence both welcoming and intimidating at the same time. Ethan hesitated for a brief moment, taking in the sight before pushing the door open cautiously. A creak echoed through the large and dusty hall as he stepped inside, sending a shiver down his spine. The interior smelled of old books and parchment, a scent that seemed to carry centuries of knowledge and forgotten stories. The air was cooler than outside, and there was a faint, unidentifiable undertone in it, something ancient and somehow alive, something that made him feel that the place itself had been waiting for him. As he walked further, the wooden floorboards groaned softly beneath his feet. Bookshelves stretched high into the ceiling, filled with tomes that seemed older than time itself, their spines cracked and faded but emanating a quiet dignity and presence. The library was empty, yet it did not feel devoid of life. Every shadow seemed to watch him, every whisper of air seemed to carry some hidden message or secret. He paused near the center of the room, trying to calm his rapidly beating heart. Then he noticed something unusual. A single book, resting on a tall and isolated shelf, began to move slightly, as if nudged by an invisible hand. He approached it carefully, his curiosity battling with a creeping sense of fear. The book slowly opened on its own, revealing yellowed pages covered with strange symbols and intricate sketches. At the center of the open pages lay a map, unlike any he had ever seen before. The lines twisted and curled in patterns that made little sense at first glance, yet somehow radiated a strange and compelling energy. Tucked at the edge of the map was a small note that read, "The truth is what you feel before you see." Ethan felt a shiver of anticipation run through him. He was a man of logic, someone who trusted evidence and reasoning, yet the message stirred something deep within, something that could not be ignored. He traced the lines on the map carefully, noting peculiar landmarks and markings that seemed almost to shimmer faintly under the dim light of the library. One mark in particular drew his attention, a small X at the bottom, accompanied by another note that instructed him to follow where it led, promising that he would uncover what he was meant to see. He hesitated, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear, but then he took a deep breath and tucked the map carefully into his coat. He knew there was no turning back now. Guided by the map, he moved through narrow corridors lined with towering bookshelves. Shadows danced along the aisles, and occasionally he thought he glimpsed movement, but every time he turned, there was nothing. The anticipation in his chest grew with each step, a blend of fear, curiosity, and exhilaration that made every heartbeat feel louder than before. Finally, he reached a small, hidden door partially obscured by stacked books. Pushing the door open revealed a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Ethan's heart pounded, but he remembered the words of the note and stepped forward. The air grew cooler with each step, and faint glimmers of light began to appear below, casting strange patterns on the stone walls. At the base of the stairs, he found a small chamber, and in the center of it lay a chest, covered in dust and age. Trembling, he lifted the lid and a beam of light burst forth. Inside rested a parchment, old and delicate, its text glowing faintly in the dim chamber. It read, "This secret will change everything. Reality is not what you see, it is what you feel and what you understand within." Ethan held the parchment in his hands, feeling an overwhelming sense of awe and understanding. In that moment, he realized that the journey he had begun was not about the knowledge in books or hidden maps but about discovering the truth that existed within himself, the awareness that the most profound mysteries were often invisible yet undeniably real. Stepping out of the chamber, the quiet night outside felt transformed. The city no longer seemed empty, It was alive with secrets, with stories hidden in every shadow and corner, waiting for someone brave enough to notice and understand. Ethan walked forward, carrying with him the knowledge that his life had changed forever, and that every step he took from now on would be guided by the truth he had begun to feel and understand. The following morning, Ethan awoke with a clarity he had never experienced before. The events of the previous night seemed vivid in his mind, almost like a dream that was too real to dismiss. The library, the map, the hidden chamber, and the glowing parchment, all of it felt tangible, as though it had been waiting for him to discover it. The words from the parchment echoed in his mind. Reality is not what you see, it is what you feel and what you understand within. Every time he thought of them, a sense of purpose stirred deep inside him, urging him to act, to follow the path that had been laid out. Determined, he dressed quickly and left his apartment, the morning air crisp against his skin. The city, which had once seemed ordinary, now appeared layered and mysterious. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of light seemed to carry hidden meaning. The map guided him away from the main streets, down narrow alleys, and into corners of the city he had never noticed before. As he walked, he felt a strange connection to his surroundings, as if the city itself were leading him, guiding him with unseen hands towards something important. Each step felt deliberate, purposeful, and filled with a sense of anticipation. Signs began to appear along the way, subtle and easy to miss, yet impossible to ignore once noticed. A broken statue at the edge of an alley seemed to indicate a direction. A faded mural on a wall appeared to mirror symbols he had seen in the hidden chamber. Even the patterns of shadows cast by the morning sun seemed to align with the map's markings, as if the world itself were conspiring to show him the way. With every discovery, his confidence grew, and his curiosity deepened. He realized that this journey was not just about uncovering external secrets but about understanding the hidden currents of reality itself. He approached an overgrown courtyard, its boundaries barely visible through the thick growth of vines and weeds. At the center, a dry and cracked fountain marked the spot indicated by the map. Ethan's heart raced. There, hidden beneath the fountain, was a small door, almost invisible unless one knew where to look. He pushed aside the vines and opened the door, revealing a dark, descending tunnel. The air was cool and slightly damp, carrying a sense of age and mystery. As he moved down the tunnel, his steps echoed softly, mingling with the faint sounds of dripping water and the subtle hum of unseen energy. The walls were covered with ancient carvings, faces, symbols, and patterns that seemed to pulse with meaning. The further he walked, the stronger the sensation grew that the tunnel was alive, that it responded to his presence, guiding him forward with invisible currents of energy. At the end of the passage, he emerged into a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above, and crystals embedded in the walls glowed softly, illuminating the space with an ethereal light. In the center of the room, on a pedestal, lay a large stone, intricately carved and radiating a quiet power. On its surface, words appeared, glowing faintly. To see the unseen, you must first trust your inner vision. Ethan approached carefully, placing his hand on the stone. A warmth spread through him, and visions began to fill his mind. Moments of joy and sorrow, courage and fear, triumph and loss. Every vision seemed connected, forming a larger picture he could not fully comprehend, yet instinctively understood. The experience overwhelmed him, yet it also brought a sense of coherence, a recognition that the hidden truths of the world were not simply for observation but for feeling, understanding, and integrating. In one corner of the chamber, a small ornate box rested. Inside lay another parchment, smaller than the first but equally radiant. Its message read, "The ultimate journey is inward. The outer world reflects the inner world. Understand yourself, and you understand everything." Ethan felt the truth of those words resonate deeply. Every step he had taken since following the map had been a preparation, each discovery a reflection of inner awareness. The journey, he realized, was not about uncovering external knowledge alone but about awakening to the consciousness that connected all things. As he left the chamber and ascended the tunnel back to the courtyard, the sun was setting, casting long shadows that now seemed alive and meaningful. He walked through the city streets with a renewed sense of perception, noticing patterns, synchronicities, and subtle connections he had previously ignored. Every sound, every movement, every interaction carried potential significance. He no longer sought validation or proof from the outside world. Instead, he trusted his intuition and inner understanding, knowing it was aligned with a greater truth. This journey had transformed him, revealing that the hidden realities of the world were accessible to those willing to feel, trust, and explore both the outer world and their inner consciousness. Days passed since Ethan's transformative experiences, yet the memory of the hidden chamber, the glowing parchment, and the mysterious stone lingered vividly in his mind. The city around him, once ordinary and mundane, now appeared alive with layers of hidden meaning. Every street, every building, every shadow seemed to conceal stories waiting to be discovered. He felt as though a veil had been lifted, revealing aspects of reality that had always existed but remained unseen. The lessons he had received were no longer abstract, they were alive within him, guiding his thoughts, actions, and perceptions. Each day, he observed his surroundings with heightened awareness, noticing subtle signs and patterns that previously would have escaped him. The ordinary rhythm of the city now seemed interconnected, each event an encounter part of a larger, intricate design. People he met appeared at moments that felt precisely orchestrated, and chance occurrences seemed to carry deliberate meaning. With this awareness came a sense of responsibility. He understood that his journey was ongoing, that the pursuit of understanding and the recognition of hidden truths was not confined to a single moment or location. One evening, he found himself drawn to an abandoned theater he had once passed without thought. The building was neglected, its windows cracked and doors hanging loosely on their hinges, yet something about it called to him. Guided by intuition, he stepped inside and immediately felt the energy of the space. Symbols and patterns adorned the walls, reminiscent of those in the chamber and the map. Each symbol seemed alive, glowing faintly in response to his presence. Ethan realized that every place he had visited, every clue he had followed, had been preparing him for this moment. It was not just the discovery of objects or locations that mattered but the awakening of his own perception, the alignment of his intuition with the hidden currents of the world. He focused on the symbols, allowing his consciousness to flow with the energy, and gradually a deeper understanding emerged. He could feel connections between events, people, and objects in ways he had never before imagined. The world was a tapestry of interwoven meaning, and his role was not to control it but to recognize and move in harmony with it. In the theater, he discovered a small ornate box containing another parchment. Its words were simple yet profound: the ultimate journey is inward. The outer world reflects the inner world. Understand yourself, and you understand everything. Ethan held the parchment and felt the truth resonate through him. Every discovery, every step of the journey, was a reflection of his own inner awakening. Knowledge and secrets existed not merely to be collected but to be felt and integrated. The city outside, once lifeless, now vibrated with energy and possibility. Each shadow, each sound, each subtle movement seemed to communicate messages previously unnoticed. Ethan walked through the streets with heightened awareness, understanding that the journey was infinite. There was no ultimate destination or single truth. The pursuit itself, the act of observing, sensing, and feeling, was the essence of understanding. He realized that courage, trust in intuition, and the willingness to embrace the unknown were more important than any tangible secret. His experiences had changed him fundamentally, opening his perception to the unseen forces shaping life around him. By the time night fell, he felt gratitude for every event, every challenge, and every lesson he had encountered. The library, the hidden chamber, the cavern, and the theater were not merely locations but stages in a process of awakening. Reality was revealed as a reflection of inner consciousness, and the path forward was guided by awareness, intuition, and insight. Ethan understood that life itself was a continuous journey of discovery, and every moment held potential for understanding, growth, and revelation. With this knowledge, he moved forward through the city, fully aware, fully present, and fully alive to the hidden patterns and truths waiting to be recognized. The world was no longer a series of random events but a living, breathing network of meaning, and he was now awake to perceive and navigate it with understanding and purpose.